I am so glad you are here, and we are with Dr. Jenny Whalig. Jenny, welcome to the Being Brave Tour.
Thank
And
you.
yes, I'm so excited to share your story today.
I appreciate that, Karen. I'm really excited to share it. It's a very epic, powerful story.
Oh, I like that word, epic. And I'm going to read your bio here in a second, but one of the things that I'm really excited about is that we have not had a story about relationships yet.
Yeah. Well, when it comes to being brave, I feel like we need to have a story about relationships because,
Absolutely. That's like an everyday brave thing.
yes, 100%.
Yeah, so let me just tell the ladies a little bit about you. So, Dr. Jenny is co founder of Powerful Love Relationships and co creator of the Powerful Love Method, a proven approach to creating deeply connected, next level love, even if one partner isn't on board yet.
Yes, that's right.
Yeah, with over 20 years of experience, a PhD in couple and family therapy, and an international speaking career, Dr. Jenny doesn't just reach or teach relationship skills. She and her partner, Calvin, educate, embody, and lead a movement that redefines what's possible in love, life, and difference. Oh my goodness, so much to unpack there. And I love how your story that we're going to be sharing today relates to all of that.
Oh, yeah.
And so I'm just so glad you're here. And you have done all kinds of work with relationships. I mean, there's your specialty. So let's start off. Tell the ladies a little bit about the story we're going to be sharing here today. What was kind of the circumstance? Where were you in this relationship?
It's back in the day.
In the dreamland where we thought
Yes,
it
yes.
was perfect.
28-year-old young person, already a long time relationship fan, not so successful yet. I'd already been divorced at 28. I was already studying relationships, had my master's, was planning to go on for my PhD, knew that this was what I wanted to do, thought I was like really good at relationships. And I met my partner, Calvin. And our relationship was not good. Like, I fell so hard in love with him, and I knew he was my soulmate, and he thought I was nuts, because we were so different. He didn't get me. I couldn't understand why he treated me the way that he did, which wasn't necessarily mean, but he didn't know how to be particularly nice either, in the way that I wanted him to, in like emotional intimacy, in being able to communicate, being available, connecting, all the things that I desired. And I was like, and so we would fight, and I would cry and be upset, and then we would break up, but then we would get back together because something kept pulling us together. But eventually, he was like really clear that he didn't think this was going to work. And so I was like, well, fine. And I had met a woman who wanted to be with me. And so I decided to date her, eventually married her. He found a woman that wanted to be with him. So we married other people, moved to opposite sides of the country. He had kids with that person. And then 7 years later, we, our relationships transitioned. We ended up getting back together. I moved across the country, and I thought our relationship would be better. I finally had my second chance with my soulmate. I had my PhD at that time. I'd done a lot more relationship work, a lot more growing up. Now I was in my mid-30s. Yeah, no, it was worse. It was harder because now there were kids involved. Now there were like other, there's blended family dynamics. There was just like there's other like next, grown-up life.
Yeah.
Grown-up life happening.
So you have this education in
Oh God.
relationships.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, I mean, what's going through your head is like, oh, this relationship thing should be okay. I got this handled. Or
Right.
what were your thoughts around it when there were struggles and you're trying to make this work and bring, I mean, especially when you've got all these other factors, these blended families, a history with other relationships and that type of thing. So what's going through your mind in that as you're going, this isn't going exactly the way I thought it was going to?
Yeah. Okay. So real talk, what's going through my mind is
Yeah.
what the hell's wrong with him? Because it couldn't be me because I was the relationship expert and I was really good at helping other people with their relationships. All my clients were getting results and they were telling me that I was amazing.
Uh-huh.
But so that was part of what was going wrong with him. Like, why couldn't he just do the things I was telling him to do? I literally, Karen, I told him one day, I was like, I will write you a manual on how to love me. Like, I will literally type it out on like how to be successful in this relationship. All you have to do is just follow it. And he was like, no. I'm like, why would you reject like a manual on how to be successful? And the reason why I later learned is because receiving a manual on how you are the problem and how you need to be solely responsible for fixing it doesn't feel really good. And there's some resistance that shows up there in
Right.
relationships. But I wasn't aware of that because that was never part of my education. But the other piece that was really showing up for me was, like what's wrong with me, right?
Uh-huh.
Like what's wrong with me? What am I not getting right? Why am I choosing to be in a relationship that's so horrible? I had friends and family who thought that I was like making a mistake and who, wanted me to have better because they saw me suffering and I just didn't know how I could get out of it. And I'm like, am I just being, a doormat? And it was
Okay,
really tough.
yeah, okay. You said something that I have a feeling a lot of women that may have been said to them, like me.
Mhm.
I had a
Mhm.
counselor say that. She said, "Stop being a doormat." Okay.
Mhm.
Didn't know what that looked like, what she was
Yeah.
really talking about.
Yeah.
What is a doormat? What does that look like and how to stop being a doormat? So,
Mhm.
you
Yeah.
know, in these relationships, yeah, I mean, it's two people, but I love
Mhm.
how you said where you started pivoting and looking at yourself.
Yes.
So, kind of where were you at mentally when you decided something needed to change? And
Mm.
what kind of was that? What did that pivot point look like for you?
It's so interesting because the pivot point didn't happen because I hit a breaking point. It happened because Cal hit a breaking point. Where and to be fair, he was going through dark night of the soul stuff, like just all kinds of really, really hard things were piling up in his life, and he had very little capacity to work on our relationship. He was really trying to survive and take care of his now 3 very young children. Without, he had lost his dad, he has lost his job, he was just going through a lot of personal stuff, like struggles with his ex. So prioritizing this new relationship with me wasn't at the top of the list. Like, he had to figure out how to feed his kids. And so he really kind of gave me this boundary where he said, Jenny, I know you're not getting what you need. I know you're not getting enough, but this is all I can give. And you either need to like take it, or you can go and not try to be in relationship with me, but I can't give you more. And that was just his truth. It was a hard truth, but it was his truth. And I had to decide either to be okay with what I call living on breadcrumbs, or I had to recognize like I wanted more than breadcrumbs in my life and go feed myself elsewhere in another relationship. And I made this sovereign decision, right? Like, I owned that I was going to take the breadcrumbs because I trusted that when as he moved through this chapter of his life, he would have more to give. He would give me more. And I took ownership of finding other sources of food, if you will, to fuel myself. And so this movement to like stop being a doormat, well, in some ways I had to, accept that there were going to be more moments that I felt like a doormat, but but I changed what that meant. I set some boundaries around it. I fed myself and took care of myself in other places, so that I could sustain what he was capable of in that moment. And as his capacity grew, he did give me more. He did give me more. He did give me more. And we created this upward spiral very quickly. And then there have been, and continue to be really, these times in our relationship where we hit this new set point where it's like, okay, we've been coasting here, and now it's time for a new level up. Now I need a next level from you. And I call him in to doing and being more for me. So it's like, in some ways I tolerated being a bit of a doormat for a while, but I chose it because I knew he didn't want to be. And he, and I created some boundaries around it and some protection. But then I looked at how I could support him in making it easy to show up a little bit different, to have a little more capacity with me.
Okay. Yeah. Let's go there, because the story isn't really about him.
No, it's not.
You.
It is.
And so as you're opening the door to yourself and going, okay, how am I going to show up in this new realization of this relationship? And so what did that look like for you?
It looked like a lot of courage.
Hence the Being Brave tour.
It is, right? It looked like a
courage to be brave.
Yeah. It looked like a lot of faith in trusting.
What did you have to trust? What did you have to trust?
I had to trust that I was honoring myself. Right? That even though I was not getting what I deserved, right? Even though I was choosing a relationship where my partner was not able to engage with me in the ideal way, that I was investing in something that would grow, and that I was making a sound investment, right? So that was that trust in myself. It took a lot of courage to feel all the activation in my nervous system that shows up. This is what it happens all the time in our relationships, right? Where we want to protect ourselves. We want to defend ourselves. I wanted to yell at him or be angry or be like, you can't treat me like that. Or like, why would you react like that? Or, that wasn't nice to say, or like all this kind of shit. But I knew that if I did that, it would activate things. It would spiral us down. It would make things worse. And that moment, so I had to stay conscious, so conscious of what's going to help? What's my next move? What is the loving thing to do here? And the loving thing to do wasn't just about making him comfortable. Sometimes the loving thing to do was to challenge him. But I had to look at at first soothing my inner children, my inner protectors, my reactivity, the parts of me that wanted to run and hide, the parts of me that wanted to fight, and settle all that down so that I could consciously respond from a place of leadership, from a place of love, and choosing what next step is going to be more likely to take this relationship where I want it to go. What next response, what next words, what next choice can I make that is going to set him up to be more likely to be able to respond the way I want him to? And that was a hard thing to do energetically, but took really a lot of courage, because it didn't happen right away. It wasn't like an instant thing. I had to trust that if I kept doing that it would take me somewhere. And I had nobody talked about it. I had no roadmap. This was totally new territory for me. I was playing with a brand new idea on faith.
Yeah. You said so many key things right there. We're just going to box that up and give it to the girls as a little gift with a little bow on top, because thank you for acknowledging that it took courage. Because we don't give ourselves that acknowledgement, that little pat on the back, that little hug, saying, you know what? It takes courage. It takes bravery to take these steps, to step back and look at the situation and respond consciously, and to be curious about growing ourselves so we can show up in the best way that we can to respond in a loving way. That's what I heard you say. And that is so beautiful because we are just our world is so quick that we just have to, we got to go. We got to make this right. We got to do this. But trusting that it's a road, that it's a journey that we have to walk down, and trusting that there's little pieces along the way, and be curious about it, of how we can grow ourselves to show up differently in this relationship. And I think when I read your whole story, which is on our Fave Lifestyles app, that's what you get. It's this journey of being in the challenges and feeling those feelings. Talked about some fear, some resistance, all these different things that we feel as women, and being present with it.
Yeah.
Oh, that is so beautiful.
Yeah.
So what were some of the challenges, and what were the lessons that you learned through this?
So I think one of the biggest challenges for me was differentiating when it was the loving thing to do to speak up and use my voice, and when it was the loving thing to do to not. Right. So I mean, I'm a fighter in my relationship dance. But I also want to acknowledge that a lot of women we're socialized to not speak up. And it can be very difficult, especially in relationships with men, to speak our truth about how we're being impacted by how he is acting, or she or they, right? Because they could get angry, defensive. They can shut down and withdraw, or they can fall apart in shame. And then in any of those situations, none of our needs are getting met, right? We just have more emotional labor to do. And so it's actually easier to just stuff our own feelings and needs and prioritize making sure that our partner is not upset, and that we're not being too needy, or that we're not, like they don't have to worry about us being unhappy in any kind of way. And so we deprioritize our own needs. And like there was a part of me, my inner rebel, my feminist, my fighter, that like the moments I had to do that, I was like, it was really like, nah, like F this, like you need to stand up for yourself, girl. Like you can't but sometimes the truth is, when we really do that inner growth work, sometimes our reactivity it comes more from our stuff, right? Our expectations, our own hurts, our own insecurities.
Yes.
That we want our partner to read our minds. We didn't set clear expectations about what we needed, or right? Like, so there's a lot of,
and expecting them to meet our expectations.
Yes, when they maybe don't even know what they are, or thinking that they're. And this is the thing that partners do all the time in relationship, is we expect our partner to see the world or connect dots the way that we would in our own minds. Like we map their minds from our own mental maps, and then we get frustrated, or we make meaning of how they act based on what it would mean if we did it. And it's like, no, that's our stuff. Like they have a very different brain. They have a very different skill set. They're very different people. There's a different world over there that we may not understand, and they don't understand ours. So how can we help them understand ours? How can we understand theirs better?
Yeah.
So that's part of the challenge.
And I like that perspective, even bringing that up in conversation. How do you see this? Because this is the way I'm seeing it.
Yes.
It's like that. I don't know. There was a picture one time, and it had a car, and there's all these people at different spots on the road on both sides. Describe the car going by.
Yeah.
And everybody had a different story because they were standing in a different spot.
Exactly.
And that's kind of like what you're talking about, is like being curious about what their perspective on it all is. Yeah. Like that.
Yeah. So it's, with that was one of the big lessons for me, and it's become a big part of what we teach. Our shortcut for it is own your shit, which is, for us, a playful way of thinking about like, okay, what's my part here? Like how much of this is mine? What's my stuff that's coming up, my meaning making process, my expectations, my past, my traumas, my nervous system responses, right? How much of this is mine, and so what of my part is mine to kind of deal with before I bring this to my partner. And sometimes, a lot of the times, there's nothing left to bring when you've really taken care of what's going on inwardly. But that takes again that consciousness and that courage to not just protect yourself when your nervous system says that there's something going on here. But then the other piece of it is when there is something that you realize, like, no, like, this is not okay, and I need to stand up for myself, and I need to set a boundary, or I need to say that, like, this really hurt, and I need you to understand, and I need this to change, or I need this to get better. Because if it doesn't, this isn't going to work, right? Like, those moments, those really key moments, or those really key experiences that are in integrity and alignment with our worth and our what we are deciding, or what we are desiring to create, the kind of relationship we really want to have, how we want to be treated. We got to participate in letting them know that, but that risks rocking the boat. They might not want to hear it. They might get upset. They might get defensive. They might shut down. They might fall apart in shame. And then we have to move through that and risk that, but
Yes.
it's worth doing.
Yeah. So a couple things here that
Yeah.
you brought up that I just want to bring out a little bit. You've said the word boundaries multiple times, and I think there's so much misconception around boundaries.
There really is.
Because a lot of people think it's, oh, I'm going to tell this person, and then they do it or don't do it. But it's not really, the boundary isn't about them. It's about what you're going to do in response when they do it, because they are going to do that. They may not change their actions, but it's what you're going to do in response to that. Yes. Is that how you see boundaries as well, or what do you have to say about boundaries?
Absolutely. A couple of things about boundaries. I'll say boundaries are, first of all, a gift of love, because they tell people how to love you, how to be successful in relationship with you.
Yes.
Right?
Wow. Yes.
Boundaries are also, they are about how far you are willing to go. They are your boundaries, not about where they can go, right? It's about how far you're willing to go. And then I really like what my mentor says. She says that if you are the boundary, then you don't need to hold the boundary, which is to say that, like, no one really crosses a boundary unless you let them. Right?
And I think one of the other things you kind of mentioned too is you first have to know where you're at, what your truth is, and or your value or your standard, to be able to say and to be able to express, hey, this is what I need, or this for me, not for you to give to me, but for me.
Right. Yeah. So the idea of, like, you can't talk to me like that, if we call that a boundary, that's about what another person does, right? Well, then as you're saying, Karen, like, what are you going to do if they do talk to you like that?
Right.
The boundary is really like, if you talk to me like that, I am not going to engage in the conversation. Or if you talk to me like that, because we can't control what someone else does or doesn't do.
No,
if you talk to me like that, I am not going to stay in a relationship with you. Right? Like, so we can't, if we're telling you can't talk to me like that, now we're not setting a boundary, we're setting a rule.
Yeah, right.
We're making a rule for how someone can or cannot behave, and then they do or don't follow the rule. That's a power position. We're saying, my rule for you is this.
Right.
And they don't have a say in it. No, but boundaries are like the rules we have for ourselves. I will not tolerate being in a relationship where I am cheated on. So if you cheat on me, I will leave our relationship. That's my boundary. So someone cheating on you doesn't cross your boundary. You staying in a relationship after they've cheated on you is the boundary being crossed, right? It's like you allowing that.
Right. So a lot of these seem very black and white. They're big issues or whatever, but relationships are, it's that day to day. And maybe it's just a comment or that little sleight of hand. And maybe they really don't, like you said, sometimes it has everything to do with the way they're feeling or whatever, but you're still interacting with that person. How do you set a boundary around something like that? Maybe the comment made you feel small.
Yep.
Or
insignificant. I love that you're bringing that up, Karen, because the truth is most relationships don't die because of these big events, like an affair, like abuse or something. They die because of hundreds and thousands of these little micro moments, right? Like death by 1,000 paper cuts, that never get really addressed or healed. And the most extraordinary relationships are built in those micro moments. And so, in those moments when that happens, if someone, if your partner is saying a comment, making a comment, and it feels critical, there's a number of different responses we have, and what I've discovered in my journey, what I had to learn, as I talked about, is like in that moment, the consciousness we bring is like, what is my most powerful response, right? Like, what is my next step that's going to be most likely to get me to where I want? Is it bringing it up in this moment and saying like, hey, that didn't feel good? Because right now it may be that he's in the middle of trying to deal with, 3 toddlers who are going crazy, and he's freaking stressed, or someone just peed on the floor, and right, or he's hungry, or he's got a headache. Like, is this a moment I bring it up, or is this a moment I let it go? Is this a recurring pattern that needs a boundary set? And often, if that's the case, what I find works best in relationships is that we bring it up not in the moment when it's happening, because that's often because there's negative energy coming from your partner. Whatever's happening, they're in what we call a primal state. They're not going to be very receptive to your like, hey, you screwed up in that moment. If it's really bad, of course, please do say something. But it may be like, hey, can I talk to you about something I'm noticing? When this happened, it didn't feel good. I've noticed this tends to happen, or you often talk to me in this way. I would really like this to change. How can we work on this? And then there's this partnering together that I think is really important, that a lot of couples miss, of not just, you're the problem, here's how to fix this, which is what I was trying to do in the beginning of my relationship with Cal.
How most people approach it. It's like, hey, you're doing something wrong.
Yeah, exactly. And honestly, Karen, like, I think we women, and maybe in large part because of how we're socialized, like we're pretty emotionally attuned. We understand ourselves. We know what we need. We can speak it to it. We're more skillful in relationships. We do a lot of the caretaking, right? Like, so this is our wheelhouse. It's not usually men's or our masculine leaning partners. And so we're asking them to do something that's maybe easy for us, but not so easy for them. And if we're just saying, like, you're screwing this up, you need to get better at this, then we're playing into this me versus you, right, that does not support connection and partnership. So really, the shift is like into relationality and saying, this doesn't work for me. I'd like this to change. How can I support you in being successful? What do you think is getting in the way? Where is that coming from? What can,
I like that.
Like, how can we understand this? What is there a way that when you do this, if you don't realize, is there a way I can remind you to help you like shift into that? But you can make a plan for how you want to address problems in the relationship when you are both calm, when you're working together, when you're approaching it like, hey, I know that you love me and you would never do this on purpose, but this is a thing that's happening and it doesn't feel good. So can we work together to find a way to like shift this dynamic? And then try it, experiment, and then course correct with what doesn't work. It's like a whole new way of being in relationship that really changes everything. It's so phenomenal.
That is really great. And part of your story too, you talk about you don't need to wait for your partner to be ready. And as you're talking about this right here, it's okay. They don't have to be ready, because you could bring something like that up, and it's the way you're showing up new into this relationship. So let's recap, shortly what are a couple of the lessons that you learned and throughout this whole process from, beginning to end? What are a couple of those to share with the ladies?
Okay, so you're bringing up like the big one, the key one, that it only takes one to start the changes in a relationship. So if you've got some resistance to this as you hear it, hear me out for a second, okay? I get it. We women do already too much emotional labor. I get it. Should we have to be the one to do this too? No. Would I rather that he take the lead and be the one first? Yes. Is that likely going to happen right now? Not yet. Maybe someday. Let's work on getting us there. But let's be the change that we want because we deserve it now instead of waiting for him. Because we deserve it. So let's go. Here's how I like to explain that. This only takes one to start the change in a relationship. If you have a partner who is willing to engage in the dance of relationship with you, right? And it's worth it to you. There's two preconditions, right? They're willing to keep dancing with you. And you know that this partner, this relationship is worth your energy and effort. You want it. You want this relationship. If you don't want it, you don't have to do the work. Okay. That's okay. You can choose that. But if those two preconditions are met, then this is what I have to say. It may take two to tango, but it only takes one to learn the steps and lead the dance. You can be the one to learn the steps and lead the dance. Yes, we want our men, our partner to be the leaders, but if you take the lead and they're dancing with you, their steps will change. You might step on each other's toes a little bit. It might be hard and frustrating, but if you continue to insist, they're like, no, you're doing it the wrong way. We do the salsa. What are you trying to do? And you're like, no more salsaing. We're tangoing. We're doing it this way now, honey. Like they will, like it will, like it has to. It works like clockwork. Like there's no other way because y'all are a system. And that's just how systems work. Wow. So that's number one. The other one I'll say is this is a decision to choose to be the leader of your own life, of your own relationship. So the concept that we teach is relational leadership, right? And relational leadership isn't about like I do me, you do you. It's relational leadership from the perspective of ecological wisdom, which recognizes that we are connected and what's good for you is good for me. And if I want you to change, it's in my best interest to support your success and not just demand that you do it, right? I can help you, not because I'm have to or I'm responsible for your change, but because I recognize that you're going to change a lot faster and easier if I find a way to help you be successful, if I make it easier for you, if I help you feel safe and loved as I'm asking for your change in the dance, right? That's relational leadership. And the last little piece of advice I'll say is the number one question that we teach our clients to come back to again and again and again, that is like relational leadership in practice, is this question, like, what is my next step? How can I respond that is most likely to lead me to what I ultimately want? And I like to add the ultimately want, because in a moment, what you want in the moment might be like, well, I want him to feel as much pain as I'm feeling. And that's real. Like we have those parts. Mm-hmm. Ultimately, what you want is harmony and connection and a lasting marriage where you both feel seen and heard and cared about. So what next step in this moment can you take to get you there? And if you can't identify that right then, it is probably because you are still too activated in your nervous system, in which case your next step for the benefit of your relationship and what you ultimately want is to do what you can to bring your nervous system back into regulation, to reconnect to love, to reconnect to remembering why you're in this, what's important to you, who this person is to you, why your relationship matters enough to do this work, that they're not your enemy, that they are your partner that you have chosen for really good reasons.
Yeah. So are those the lessons that you have also personally learned?
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
There's probably a story around each one of those too.
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
Those are like what I had to learn and practice to really turn things around with Cal. And this really is, Karen, a way of being, right? Like we call our big, our program, our flagship program, we named Be the One, because that's really what it's about, is like who we're being in relationship and being the one that our relationship needs, that we need for ourselves. Not just the one that our partner needs, but the one that our future needs, the one that love needs. And what does that look like? And a lot of us don't always know, but when you commit to the path of figuring that out, we continue to grow and evolve. And it's a never ending journey. It's a never ending journey of practice and walking the talk, eating our dog food, as Cal would say. But it's worth every moment of it, because it truly has changed who I am and how I experience myself and all of the relationships that I'm in.
That's beautiful. So as we are coming to an end here, how do you celebrate that courageous woman that you are and all that you've gone through? How can you celebrate her?
I think I celebrate her by being her, by sharing this story, by by supporting other women in learning how to experience their relationships differently and embody their own power and consciousness, so that they can have something better than most women have in their marriages. I celebrate her by continuing to grow her and give her more of what she wants, and honoring that I get to keep asking for more of what I want in my relationship.
Yeah, absolutely. Because you are worth it.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
As we all are.
Okay, ladies, there were so many golden nuggets in here. I'm going to have to go back and re-listen to this myself. And Dr. Jenny, thank you so much for coming and sharing your story, because I know it's not easy sharing our stories and some of those hard moments that we've had to walk through, and admitting that, maybe we aren't perfect, but then we power through it, or we learn some new things and become curious, and so many great pieces in a relationship. And like you said too, that the relationship continues to evolve through new seasons of life. So there's going to be more opportunities, if you will, to practice those lessons that you've learned.
100%. Yes.
So, oh my goodness, anything you would like to leave the ladies with?
Believe it's possible, my friends.
Right.
As stuck as you might feel, even if it feels like you've tried everything, even if your partner or spouse has expressed zero interest, doesn't think there's any problem, and that there is, don't give up yet, because truly, even with all of the education that I had, I still did not have the pieces that I needed, this relational leadership piece, this being the one piece, to turn my relationship around. And so the information is out there, the support is out there. And when you become who your relationship needs to be, things will transform. And truthfully, even if your relationship doesn't work out, which is never our ideal, there will be gifts in the journey of your becoming, because you took that journey and grew yourself and learned how to be in your power and your sovereignty and your consciousness and your love, rather than just your reactivity and your self-protection. And because of that, you are going to attract such a new level of success and love and relationship in so many other areas of your life. So whether it's with your current person or whatever the universe, God, source has next for you, you deserve it. It's worth it. Go on the journey.
Yes. Gifts in your becoming. I love that. And ladies, here's a little thing I want to leave you with is you don't have to do it alone. There's
Oh,
people like Dr. Jenny that can help you walk through this with all
mhm.
these little golden nuggets and to create that curiosity of what can become, what there is possible out there for you. One of my sons, as I was walking through a relationship challenge, one day he walked up to me and he said, "Mom," he held his hands up to me, and he goes, "Mom, I have a gift for you." And I said, "There's nothing in there. What is it?" He goes, it's the gift of possibility and opportunity. So you can see all the possibilities there are in life.
Oh,
And so that is my gift to you, ladies, as you walk forward. See the possibility in working with somebody like Dr. Jenny or whoever it is, whatever your situation is. There are other loving women who can help you see those possibilities and experience those opportunities. And it's courageous sometimes to just ask for help.
oh my gosh, yes.
So, ladies, we are going to leave you with a hug. We love you and go out and be brave today. Love you. Bye now.